Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the sitting of the War Crimes Commission to hear and receive testimonies and evidence from victims who claim to have been tortured while they were in custody pursuant to the invasion of Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. We have today with us 7 witnesses, one of whom is an expert witness who will be testifying on the use of depleted uranium by the coalition forces in Iraq and also Afghanistan, and the prosecution team will be introducing the witnesses one by one, and the members of the commission, should they need any clarification from the witnesses, will be at liberty to ask the witnesses for such clarification. Now, without further ado, I invite the prosecution team to begin by introducing the witnesses for us to hear and receive their testimonies.
Mr. Chairman of the Commission, members of the Commission, Matthias Chan, together with my learned counsel Ataran Singh, Bhagat Sophian, Usha Kulasegaran, we represent the Victims Unit team for the purpose of today's testimony before the Commission. But before we introduce the witnesses, may I, with your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, make introductory remarks concerning the role of the Commission and why we are here today. Prior to this Commission's hearing, in the last 2 days we had a very successful conference on the initiative to criminalize war. But in the backs of mind of a lot of people who have exercised their minds over the last 2 days, why war? What are the causes of war? And how could such cruel conduct be perpetrated by the aggressors in war? And I think it's very important that before we bring the witnesses to testify on how they were tortured, how they were dehumanized, I think it's very important both for the public to understand your role as a commission and our role as a legal team, and the underlying principles, how war has been justified. I have no wish to give a thesis on this issue, but I think I will try my best to summarize a few key principles. Because if we don't understand the ideological basis or the philosophical basis for war, we will never be able to implement our initiative to criminalize war. And the foundation for the Western philosophy for war was best enunciated by the master of war, Karl von Clausewitz, who in his landmark thesis on war said that war is a continuation of politics by other means. May I ask you all to consider for a while and pause and read those words on the screen. War is a continuation of politics by other means. It's a mind-boggling concept, but a concept accepted for centuries. It means that if we, the people, all the leaders of government, having failed to indulge in politics, be it at parliament or international negotiation, and fail to achieve whatever objectives they intend to achieve by peaceful means, then they will resort to war as an alternative to politics. This is the underlying philosophy. He went on to say that war is a mass drill. You recall in olden days, for honor between two men, if you insult someone, they will challenge you to a duel. And then you go out to the field, take a sword or a pistol, and challenge each other. The victor becomes the honorable person. He may not be the honorable person, but because he won the war or that duel, he is deemed the honorable gentleman. Likewise, in war, based on the philosophy enunciated by Karl von Clausewitz and subsequently his disciples, in order to ensure that you are the honorable party in a war, you must ensure total war. That means total imposition of the will of the victor on the vanquished. And the means to impose total oppression, total submission of the victor's will on the vanquished is by mass slaughter and by torture, by a systematic method of oppression, so that the will of the oppressed people will be subjugated and the people will surrender to the will of the victor. And that is a very important principle to understand. That is why war is so brutal. Oppression is so brutal, and torture is one of the principal instruments of that oppression, of a method to impose one's political will against the vanquished. And over the years, many people, especially intellectuals in universities, in think tanks, has justified war on the following grounds, if I may summarize. First, war is a necessary instrument of policy, because even if civilized countries were to denounce wars, there will always be rogue states and demented leaders who will resort to war. Can I just pause here for a while? Because yesterday, one of the speakers says, majority of the people who wage war of aggression may be madmen. That is a very dangerous assertion. Although I know what he meant, that to wage war of aggression is madness. But we must not attribute madness to the leaders who wage war. Why? Because if we ascribe to madness to the leaders of war, who wage war, then they have a right to invoke the defense of insanity. And God forbid that they can invoke the defense of insanity for waging war. Let me assure you that everyone who wage war are sane people. They are very sane because they uphold the philosophy and the ideology of Clausewitz in his famous thesis on war. Secondly, he says, there are situations whereby wars need to be conducted with exceptional brutality so as to ensure decisive outcome. And I repeat, there are situations whereby wars need to be conducted, and the key words are with exceptional brutality so as to ensure a decisive outcome. And that principle is grounded on the first principle, the total subjugation, the total imposition of one's will on the other. Hence, extreme brutality as a justification for war. That is why so